Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching first part of What If Naruto Became Juubi. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
There was only one person left in the world who Naruto had to fight. The person who tricked Obito into getting the Biju, which ended his life. Madara brought the Juubi back to life without the Kyuubi or Hachibi. It was in the form of a larva, but it had now changed into its true form. Once it changed back into its true form, the demon that looked like a god destroyed everything. Madara had given it free rein to roam the continent as it pleased. It destroyed the 5 villages in just a few hours after being set free, and it was now going back to its master to finish off the last bit of resistance in the world. No matter how hopeless it seemed at the time, Obito and Sasuke were both killed. When Obito fought Kakashi and Might Guy, he died. The three had fought in the place where the village used to be, which was hidden in the clouds. When Kamui wasn't working, Guy opened all 8 gates to hold Obito down while Kakashi used Sharingan to use his own Kamui to rip out Obito's heart. Both of them died right after the battle, even though they won. Sasuke died in a fight with the rest of the Konoha 11. Shikamaru, Choji, Ino, Kiba, and Neji all died in that battle. Rock Lee also died when he jumped in the way of Sakura's Chidori through the chest and killed her. Shino was able to keep Sasuke away until Naruto showed up to finish the job and get revenge on his friends who had died. After the battle, Hinata, Tenten, and Sakura were killed by a wave of Zetsus. The three had killed more than 300 of them before the plant men took over because they kept attacking. Orochimaru came back to life and killed Shino. Tsunade then killed Orochimaru. Tsunade used the Shiki Fujin to seal his body and soul inside the Shinigami with herself. The battle between the two Sannin lasted 3 days and nights. The Kages, except for Gaara and Tsunade, died protecting their villages after Katsuya healed them when they were very sick and about to die. Killer Bee tried to fight the Juubi away from Kumo after his brother died, but the Juubi grew roots and took all of Killer Bee's chakra along with the 8 tails. At this point, it was just Gaara, the Kage and former Jinchuriki of the Shukaku, and Naruto, who is now the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. The 2 shinobi were the only ones left alive from the 5 great nations. Naruto told the redhead next to him, Gaara, it looks like this is the end. They were both tired and only had 1/10 of their chakra left, but Madara and his Edo Tensei body had all of their chakra. They were up against odds that were impossible at the moment. Naruto, does it look like that? Do you have any ideas? The Kage with red hair asked the last Uzumaki and unofficial Rokudame Hokage. He was called Hokage before Tsunade went to fight Orochimaru, but the daimyos were killed, so he was never given the official title. He smiled and said, yes, just one, but I won't live through it. I trust you with the fate of the world. I will use the Shiki Fujin to seal the Juubi and Madara inside me, and the Shinigami will then eat me. He had no choice but to use the forbidden jutsu to kill himself because that was how his father had died. Gaara's eyes got really big when he saw the plan. Calling the Shinigami was an absolute waste of time. No, I don't have anything to live for anymore. My village, Kankuro, Tamari, and Matsuri are all gone. You are the only thing I have left, brother, and I will die with you. Gaara said with a small smile. Naruto seemed moved by the short speech that his best friend and brother-like figure gave him. He smiled back at Naruto. Naruto said with a big smirk, then let's do this and take this jerk to hell with us. Gaara said the same thing, but in a smaller way. They both put their hands together and made the same hand signs at the same time. The Juubi then came to fight them. When Madara saw the jutsu they were going to use, he told the Juubi to attack. Both Kages stopped at the same sign and slammed their palms down on the ground. Both of them yelled, summoning jutsu. As the Shinigami's dark form appeared behind them, there was a dark purple god that showed up. His hair was spiked and white, and it had 2 horns sticking out of it. Under its white cloak, it looked very, very thin. Why have I been summoned? The death god asked the 2 ninja standing in front of him as he took the sword from his mouth. Fear and death filled the space when the god spoke in a rough, angry voice that sounded like several people were talking at once. He chose to answer the god's question. We need you to keep Madara Uchiha and the Juubi inside of me, he told the death god. When Naruto did this, he knew that he and the 2 dark beings in front of him would be trapped inside the Shinigami for all time. The god told the blonde Jinchuriki, it will take more than one soul to lock away so much power. Gaara told the purple-skinned god, that's why I also offer my soul. The god then looked at Gaara. Gaara looked at Naruto with a smirk and said, I have nothing else, and I can't let my brother die alone. Naruto was going to cry when Gaara said that. Naruto repeated what the Kyuubi had told them through their mental link. Kurama also gives his soul to you. The Shinigami said, the souls of 2 Kage and a Biju will do. It roared as it went for the kill and shot Naruto with a cone-shaped Bijudama. Gaara blocked the attack with a huge wall of sand. When the Shinigami saw this, it used the blade in its mouth to stab the powerful beast in the chest. As the Juubi was sucked into the seal on Naruto's stomach, it roared in pain. As the huge amount of nature chakra was sealed inside Naruto's body, he screamed in pain. Madara saw that his pet was gone for good and decided it was time to run. At least that's what he planned to do before the god caught him too and sealed him inside Naruto. The Shinigami took Gaara, Naruto, and Kurama's souls away when the sealing was over. The death god left the world for his own when he was done with his job. The world of Shinigami. He woke up with the worst headache he had ever had. He thought that both Tsunade and Sakura had hit him in the head several times. The man turned around and saw that he was in a king-sized bed with black sheets. He was in a room with red walls and black stripes. There were no windows or furniture in the room. The blonde got out of bed slowly and left the room. He was now in a hallway with black carpet that looked like the walls of his room. He saw that there were no other doors as he walked down the hall. He finally got to the end of the hallway, where there was a door that looked like the one that led to the room where he woke up. He walked through the door and into a big meeting room. The Shinigami and 2 women were sitting around a big table. On one side was Gaara, plus an empty seat. When one of the women saw Naruto, she waved for him to sit down. He did what he was told and sat down next to his brother. In the middle were 3 women with long, white hair that looked like fresh snow and golden eyes. He wore a golden kimono that fit him very well and had white petals blowing through it. The woman who had changed her name said, "Hello, I'm glad you woke up. My name is Kami, just so you know." Her smile seemed to be filled with light. Both of the former Jinchuriki's eyes get really big when they hear this. They both yelled, "Kami!" in shock that the goddess of light was talking to them. She laughed a little and told the blonde, yes, but we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you, Naruto." Who tilted his head to the side in shock before getting a little scared. When Naruto thought that he might be in trouble, he asked, "What about me?" This time, the other woman spoke. Her long, black hair fell to the ground like a Uchiha's. Just like the Kyuubi, she had blood. Red eyes and sharp teeth, but she didn't hate anyone. He wore a black dress like the women, but it didn't have any petals on it. She smiled in a way that made Naruto think of Anko and said, "Yes, we have an offer for you. My name is Yami, goddess of darkness." "Offer?" "Yes, we will revive you and Gaara if he wants, but in a different world that is like your own but with a few differences. If you refuse, then you too will be given a house in heaven for you and your loved ones." The god told the 2. Gaara closed his eyes and told the 3 people who were there, "I refuse. Thank you for the offer, but my family and wife are here, and that's all I want. I don't want to leave them while I live." "I get it, and for good reason," Kami told the person who was using sand. Gaara cut Naruto off before he could finish. "No, Naruto, you have to leave. I have everything I wanted here while you don't," Gaara told his friend. "Go live a new life, make friends, get a girlfriend, and save that world from ending like ours." Naruto said, but was cut off again. "Naruto," Gaara said, "no buts. I have always trusted you. Now trust me to tell you to take this offer." He looked at Gaara with tears running down his cheeks and wide eyes. He looked at the gods and said, "Fine, I'll trust you. I accept your offer." She smiled at the blonde. In between snaps, she said, "Good, but you'll need a new outfit." There was smoke all around Naruto. After the smoke cleared, Naruto was seen wearing a black shirt over a metal harness. They were loose black pants with red lines down both sides. He also had an orange sash around his waist. He wore his sage coat over this. The back of it had the kanji for heaven written in it, and the hood had black flames around the edge. The tail of the coat looked torn, like Ichigo's in Bankai. Naruto looked at his new clothes and said, "Whoa, I look badass." As the blonde ninja looked at his new clothes, Yami told him, "Of course you do, Juubi-san. Naruto looked up at Yami and she could tell he was confused by the look in his eyes. Oh, you didn't know. Since you sealed the Juubi in yourself and then had its soul removed, the Yoki fused with your body making you the new Juubi. Congratulations. Yami said with a wide grin. Naruto didn't say anything when he looked at Yami. He opened and closed his mouth a few times before his eyes just rolled back, and he passed out right there. Gaara sighed as he looked down at his brother who was out cold. He stood up, kicked Naruto in the head, and said, "I should have seen that coming." This woke up the blonde. After Gaara kicked him, Naruto glared at her and yelled, "Why did you kick me?" He temporarily lost control of his new power. Naruto's chakra reached unimaginable heights, and his eyes went from cobalt blue to angry red, with 4 black rings around them in the shape of a Rinnegan. The first 3 rings had 3 Tomo inside them. Naruto was out of breath from using the Juubi's power when he finally calmed down. Now his eyes were red and bleeding from the edges. He looked up at the 3 gods who were sitting there. Nairo asked, "What was that?" As the blonde asked, the Shinigami replied, "That's the power you got from the Juubi. According to the god, I will put a seal on you that lets you control how much chakra you use at once so that you don't walk around with more energy than the Kyuubi." The god laughed, making the whole room shake. Naruto did nothing but nod and put out his right arm. Something that looked like an upside down triangle with 3 triangles pointing to it at each end showed up on the back of his hand. The seal was mostly black, but it had a faint blue glow to it. This seal stops 8 tails of power while leaving you with 2. You can also release them and seal them again whenever you want, Yami told the blonde. Naruto and Gaara got up and shook hands. "Well, this is where we part ways, Gaara," Naruto told her. It was a strange moment because they were being split up from the only people they had left before they died. A tear was coming out of the redhead's right eye. He never showed emotion before. "I guess it is San. I would go with you, but I have people waiting for me in heaven. It was nice to have met you. You turned me around and gave me hope, and for that I will never forget you," Gaara told his blonde companion. All 3 gods looked at each other and smiled. The Shinigami got up and walked over to them. "You guys know that we can take a piece of each of your souls and make a weapon that will always connect you two. What do you think?" The god of death asked. "What do you think? You two will be able to talk to each other at any time through the link. Plus it will help Naruto since he won't have full control over his new powers and his chakra control will be shot." After a quick glance at each other, they turned back to the Shinigami and gave him their answer. The gods smiled and reached inside each of them, pulling out a small orb. Gaara's was sand, colored with a green center, and Naruto's was red on the outside and black in the middle. The god of death brought the 2 orbs together. As soon as the 2 orbs touched, the room was filled with light. As the light went out, a katana with a dark tan sheath, a black hilt, and a red grip could be seen. The guard was shaped like a star with 10 points and red, golden tips. "This is Sabakukaze, desert wind. This is the physical representation of your bond to Gaara Naruto. I don't know the specifics, but this sword gives you slight control over sand and can launch wind attacks," the Shinigami said as he handed the sword to Naruto. "So when do I leave?" Naruto asked the 3 gods. They just smiled at him, which made him sweat because they looked like they were about to do something that would make him bad. She snapped her fingers and said, "Now." Naruto was gone in a flash of light, leaving his seat empty. When Kami saw Gaara, she stood up and waved for him to follow. "It's time to see your family again, Gaara," she told the redhead who was following him. The sky over Konoha. Lights shot out over the middle of the village, making a rainbow over the fire country that everyone in Konoha could see. A very strong chakra surge went through the village, making the ground shake wildly and crack. People in Genin are knocked out by the sheer amount of pure power that was released. In the middle of the village, in front of the Hokage Tower, a beam of golden light fell. Ninjas who could still move around while being pushed by whatever was coming gathered around the light to wait for it to go out. They were all ready to attack at any time. There was even the Hokage in battle gear and Enma in the form of a bow and staff. When the bright light went away, a tall, about 16-year-old girl with spiked blonde hair and blue eyes could be seen. His face was sharp, and each cheek had 3 whisker marks. He was muscular, but not too muscular like the Raikages. Instead, he looked more like a boxer. Everyone who saw the man had the same thought, Yandaime Sama. Hiruzen walked up to the man who was standing there and carefully watching everyone around him. Minato, is that you? He asked the blonde man who had come out of the blinding light. Naruto looked at the man in front of him with a strange look on his face. The man was Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage who had died years before in the Sound and Sand invasion of the Hidden Leaf. Naruto saw that everyone was looking at him. Naruto scratched the back of his head and said, "Actually no, my name is Naruto. Can I talk to you alone?" The old Sandaime gave him a nod and waved for him to follow. When the other ninjas saw that the man was following their leader, they split up. A 15-year-old girl with blonde hair pulled back into two pigtails that reached her lower back was the only one who stayed. She was gone in an instant, leaving no sign that she had been there. Office of the Hokage. They went into the big room where the Hokage worked and ran the village when he wasn't at the mission hall. The old but strong man leaned forward on his elbows while his fingers were crossed over each other. He was sitting behind his desk. Hiruzen chose to ask the man a question to start the conversation. The question was simple but still important. Where did you come from? He had to know where the people who look like their hero and fall from the sky over his village came from because he was High Lord. Naruto smiled and said, "From my mother." This made the Sandaime look bad. When Naruto saw what the old man did, he laughed. The old man pinched the bridge of his nose and said, "I meant, what country are you from?" Naruto said, "Yes," and sealed his hand. He said, "Tsukiyomi," as his eyes turned red like a 9. Tomo rose. World of Tsukiyomi. Hiruzen Sarutobi found himself in a crater that was empty except for what looked like houses around the edges. His first thought was that the sky was red and the moon was black. Naruto showed up in front of him. Naruto said, "Serious, this is my home, this is Konoha." When Hiruzen heard this, his eyes got really big. He looked at how badly the village had been destroyed. His head was shaking because he couldn't believe that his house had become this. "You're lying, this can't be Konoha." There were tears in Naruto's eyes as he said, "This is not your Konoha. This is my Konoha. This is the Konoha from which I come, my dimension, my home. This is the site of my ultimate failure." Hiruzen turned to look at the man. It didn't make sense to see him cry. Someone with his power would never cry unless they had to. So this really is Konoha. Tell me how this happened. Naruto looked up after wiping the tears from his eyes. It all began when the Kyuubi attacked. Naruto went on to talk about what happened with the Akatsuki, the war, and his meeting with the gods before he turned into a Juubi. Following the end of the Genjutsu, Hiruzen gave Naruto a stern look. The old man asked, "Do you want to protect Konoha?" The Hokage told the blonde Juubi, "Then with the power given to me by the Fire Daimyo, I give you the title of Genin of Konoha. Go to the academy tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. to be put on a Genin team." Naruto nodded in response. He smiled like a grandfather and said, "Oh, and try to hide your real strength. The less questions the better, right?" Naruto asked the old man, "May I ask you a few questions, Hokage?" "Sama?" Hiruzen smiled and said, "Well, that was a question, wasn't it?" Naruto laughed out loud when the old man said what he did. The Sandaime laughed at the blonde and said, "All right, ask your questions." When Naruto said yes, he asked first, "Who are the current clan heirs?" "That is easy, they are all in the same class and are graduating this year. For the Hyuga clan, there is Hinata Hyuga, the eldest daughter of the current heir Hiyashi. For the Inuzuka clan, it is Inuko Inuzuka, daughter of Sume Inuzuka. From the Uchiha, it's Sayuri Uchiha, daughter of Makoto Uchiha and Fugaku Uchiha. From the Yamanaka clan there is the daughter of Inoichi, Ino, as well as the heirs to the Akamichi and Nara clan Choji Akamichi and Shikamaru Nara. Then there is Shino from the Aburama. And lastly, from the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans there is yourself and Narumi." The third Hokage responded to the new Juubi's inquiry. He closed his eyes and thought about it for a short time. "In this world, Sasuke, Kiba, and I are all female, but everyone else is male," Naruto said. Naruto knew in his heart that his life would never be the same again and that a new chapter had begun. "Hokage. Sama, tell me, does Narumi in the village, how about her parents?" The old Hokage answered the Juubi's question with a nod. "Yes, she was told that when she was 5 years old. She has trained with Jiraiya for 10 years and now knows the Rasengan in a simpler but weaker version of the Hiraishin." "Is she aware of the Namikaze family tree?" Naruto asked. This made Hiruzen's eyes widen, and he gasped, "Bloodline." He had no idea that Minato had a bloodline. Heck, Minato himself had no idea he had one. Yes, the Jinten, swift release. My father didn't know about it, but it was the reason why he was naturally fast without the Hiraishin. I learned about it when an old man from Iron Country recognized a technique I used by accident and told me about it. Naruto told the village head. Well, this is good news. This means that Konoha has another bloodline now. Can you give me a demonstration of your Kekkei Genkai? Naruto agreed and began to use hand signs. Jintona Shadowless Flight, he said as he disappeared and came back a few seconds later with 2 bowls of ramen. He set his own down in front of the Hokage and began to eat it. Interesting, so the Jinten lets you move at very high speeds, the Sarutobi said at the end of the show. Angry, he took the bowl of ramen and told Naruto to follow him to the hotel where he would be staying until they could talk to Narumi. What did Hiruzen do when Naruto left? He looked to his left wall and asked, "Are you there, Jiraiya?" As the wall came down to reveal another man. He was tall and had white hair that was spiked and fell to his waist. It was pulled back into a ponytail and framed both sides of his face with 2 shoulder-length bangs. A horned forehead protector with the kanji for oil on it showed that he was connected to Mount Myaboku. He also had red lines running down from his eyes. On the left side of his nose, there was a wart that stood out. Jiraiya wore a green short shirt kimono and pants that matched. He wore mesh armor under his clothes, which could be seen through the sleeves and legs. Along with handguards, a simple black belt, traditional Japanese getup, wooden sandals, a red haori with 2 simple yellow circles on each side, and a scroll on his back, he was fully dressed. An ink job was on his left palm as well. The Hokage was asked, "Yeah, I'm here." What did the kid have to say? Hiruzen then began to think about everything the blonde had told him in the Tsukiyomi. Hiruzen asked his student, "So what do you think, Jiraiya?" Jiraiya thought about what he had just heard. It sounded impossible, but his information was spot on, even on the fact that I trained Nagato and Konan, which was kept secret from everyone except for you, me, Tsunade, and Orochimaru. I say that you keep an eye on him until you can know for sure that he isn't working for someone. The white-haired sage advised the Hokage. He strolled through the town. He was going to be put back on a genin team. He didn't like being a genin, but he knew the Hokage didn't trust him. What was he to blame for the old man? A 16-year-old boy who said he was the son of the 4th Hokage from another world had just come down from the sky and asked to join your village. Okay, that story is already pretty hard to believe. They might have killed him right then and there, he had no idea. Oh well, I tried anyway. In this world, the village looked exactly the same as the one back home. He didn't get lost because everything was made to look like his. He wasn't lost in his own village because he was the Hokage. He came across an old stand that he was sure he knew, Ichiraku Ramen. With a sad smile on his face, he thought of all the good times he had in his own world, like the meetings with Team 7, the trip he took with Iruka before he graduated, and the times he spent with Jiraiya. A little voice inside him said, "Memories," as he walked into the bar. It looked just like the one back home. 2 people were already there. They looked like Kunoichi and were girls. He sat down on the stool in the farthest corner to the right. Ayame, the waitress with brown hair, came over to take his order. She looked just like the one from his world. He felt a little bad seeing her again because she and her father were killed when Madara attacked the village. "Hello, welcome to Ichiraku Ramen. May I take your order?" she asked the blonde. He agreed and asked the brown-haired waitress, "May I have 10 bowls of pork ramen and 10 bowls of miso miss?" The woman was almost shocked to see someone else in front of her eat that much ramen. She looked over at another girl in the stand to the side. When she turned to go fill the order, she said, "Sure, it will be there in just a minute. Please wait a bit." As she cooked the ramen, she thought to herself, "I wonder if they're related." But Lord Hokage said she didn't have any family left. This looks like a male version of her, though. It was the girl with black hair who asked her friend, "Hey Narumi, isn't that the guy who went with the Hokage this before?" Narumi looked at the other customer at the stand and told her friend, Sayuri, "Yeah, he was. I don't know why, but he seems familiar." Narumi was a pretty 15-year-old girl. She had a nice full hourglass shape, and her high C cup breasts looked great with it. It was golden blonde and pulled back into 2 pigtails. She had 2 red bangs on either side of her face. She had 3 marks that looked like whiskers on each cheek. Her lips were full and red, and her eyes were a bright cyan blue. Over a black shirt that looked like it was made in China, she wore a dark orange and black jumpsuit jacket that wasn't closed all the way. Under a short orange skirt, she wore spandex pants with a tight back that reached her knees. Sayuri said, "Yeah, if you think about it, he does kind of look like your dad." Sayuri was a Uchiha girl who was going to be the next leader of her clan. Like all Uchihas, she had short, black hair that was spiked back and black eyes. She had a figure that showed years of hard work, just like her friend. Her C cup breasts were big for her age, though not as big as her Namikaze friends. Her toned stomach was visible because she wore a blue short sleeved shirt. She wore long blue ninja sandals and white shorts. Her brown belt was tipped to the side. She told her best friend, "Yeah, you're right. Maybe they're related." Because she had a Kyuubi, she could usually read people very easily, but this man was hard for her to figure out. He had a pure white aura, like a ghost she had seen before. It was almost like he was dead and then came back to life. 3 Anbu appeared around the man and said to the new Juubi, "Naruto Namikaze, by order of Danzo you are to come with us." He glared at them out of the corner of his eye and said, "I think you should leave now before you do something you'll regret." He then let out his ki. Everyone in the village thought a god had just shown up and was about to punish them. They dropped to their knees and grabbed their throats. It wasn't getting any better for the 2 clan heirs. Naruto's ki was all around them. It was stopping their bones from moving and shocking their muscles into a tangled mess. What strength! Naruto was shocked and scared as she thought, the Anbu says he is a Namikaze.
For the Kyuubi, it was possible for her to stay alive even though she could barely breathe.
Sayuri was in even worse shape than Narumi because she didn't have the Kyuubi and was about to pass out. This power is stronger than Itachi's the day he killed the clan. Those were her last words before she passed out. Naruto looked at the Anbu that were gasping for air and said, "Are those the only emotionless drones Danzo has? I will end your pain, Amaterasu." As he turned his eyes to his Tengen, the 3 Anbu screamed in pain as they were burned to ashes. Narumi did nothing while the heat from the flames made her sweat. She was much more scared of her family member than she had been before. He put some cash on the counter and left the stands. She put her money on the counter and followed because she wanted to learn more about her relative. He was now training in a field outside of the village. Gaara was trying to get in touch with him because he could feel the pulse in his sword. He put his hand on the sword's handle and sent chakra into it. "Hi Gaara, is that you?" "That's right." Cage with red hair told his friend, "Naruto, it's great to hear from you." "Naruto, have you tried Sabakukaze yet?" "What?" he asked. He shook his head and said, "No, I haven't. I was going to use it to train for a while, but I think someone is following me. I really wanted to use Sabakukaze, but I'm going to wait until I have some time to myself to try it out." That's what Naruto told his fellow former Jinchuriki. Gaara agreed in heaven, "That's right, you still don't know what makes this world different from ours. Have you met yourself there? Tell me, the once." Kazekage asked his friend who was once Hokage. Naruto gave it some thought and then said, "I think I have, but it's weird." Naruto answered his best friend's question. "She was a woman, had huge amounts of chakra, and wore my old orange jacket." "Maybe, didn't the gods say that this world would be different from ours? One of them might be that some ninjas in our world who used to be men are now women," Gaara thought. "I believe you might be right." Naruto agreed with his friend with red hair. When he realized something, he shook his head and asked, "Wait, does that mean you could also be female?" What did Naruto ask? Gaara was pale now, and he began to think of himself as a woman. "Naruto, don't say that again," he thought. "In the event that I am a girl, however, you should still help her stay sane. Don't talk to me about it if you marry her, but if you don't help her like you helped me, I'll kill you," Gaara wrote. "Okay, I'll help her." He told his friend, "She might be hot for all we know." The sword was filled with the desire to kill. The Uzumaki were told by Gaara, "If you say that again, I will kill you." Since Narumi was hiding behind a tree near the clearing, she could hear everything that was said. Not a family member, the blonde man from before was her from another world. Holy crap, I wonder if Hokage Gigi knows about this. She thought to herself. She felt like two strong forces were pulling her away from the talks. Gaara narrowed his eyes and said, Naruto, I felt like someone else was listening to us. I think that because your souls are so similar, you can connect to the sword, no matter who you are in that world. Maybe you should teach her a lesson about getting caught spying, Gaara said with a sneaky grin that wasn't like him at all. Wow, Gaara, I had no idea you could be such a jerk. That's what Naruto told his friend before he shot off in a blur of speed from his Jinten Jutsu. Narumi saw the man leave and jumped out into the open space with his kunai drawn. Where does he go? As she looked over the field, she thought. Naruto said as he leaned against a tree, you know you should let people get behind you. Naruto turned around to face the man and asked, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and yours is? He already knew the man's answer from talking to the Hokage. As she stepped back to defend herself, she said, Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze. This is crazy. If you're from another world, why are you here? She asked the blonde wise man. He smiled and said, well, maybe if you can give me a peek at your ability I'll tell you. But if you're rubbish, then you have no right to know, and I'll just finish my mission in this world. He then drew Sabakukaze. He said, let's dance, Naru-chan. She yelled, war. As she charged at him with her kunai. She yelled, don't call me that. As she stabbed Naruto in the stomach. He then began to glow. She said, what? Before Naruto blew up and threw her across the field. He jumped off the tree and swung his sword. The blonde girl was hit by a crescent-shaped blast of very hot wind. She jumped out of the way of the attack as it burned the tree it hit and the grass it went over. When Naruto saw the move, he laughed and thought to himself, I think I'll call that move Desert Heat. The older blonde was hit by Narumi as she charged at her with a ransom. She yelled, take this. But he was gone in a flash of speed. The Rasengan hit the ground hard, making a big hole in the ground. The Sandaime and Jiraiya were already there to watch the Uzumaki's fight. He asked his old teacher, Sensei, do you think Narumi-chan can win this fight? This was Hiruzen's answer to his student's question, no, Naruto-san is way too advanced for her to beat. He has more experience in battle and I feel something off about his chakra. It's like a Biju's but stronger but not as evil. The old Hokage agreed. What else does Narumi-chan have control over? 2 tails of the Kyuubi should be enough to beat him, Jiraiya said, sure of his student. She was strong enough to beat any Chunin when she was a Genin, and she was even stronger when she had the Kyuubi. Let's watch the battle, Hiruzen said with a sigh. Narumi threw a 3-pronged kunai at Naruto, but he just sidestepped it, and Narumi jumped on top of him with a Rasengan. Got you. She yelled, but Naruto was gone again. As red bubble like chakra began to form around her in the shape of a fox cloak, she yelled, hold still. When Naruto saw this, he laughed and thought, so she's not holding back, eh? As he saw his female opponent charge at him on all fours. Because of the Kyuubi inside her, she was moving much faster than before, but Naruto still saw her as moving slowly. He caught the punch she threw at him and used her forward momentum to throw her behind him. As he threw her, one of her tails bit him. Everyone was shocked when the tail hit him and just went through his skin. Because of his hair, no one could tell that he was using his dujutsu. He thought, that was a good trick, as he watched her plan. He looked at Narumi and said, for a Genin, you're pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised if you made Chunin early, but you're no match for me. Let's end this. As she called up 2 clones to begin making a Rasengan in her hand, she growled, with pleasure. It had grown to about the size of a basketball and was now blood red like the Kyuubi's chakra. With a smile, Naruto made his own Rasengan, but it was only the size of his palm, not Narumi's. Naruto's Rasengan was also a different color. It was white on the outside, with a black center and red lightning dancing around it. He told himself, that's new. Jiraiya's eyes got really big when he felt Naruto's chakra. It was 10 times stronger than the Kyuubi's own Yoki. Jiraiya asked himself, what kind of monster is he? With their arms cocked back, the two fighters charged at each other. When they got close to each other, they both pushed out their arms, which caused the Rasengans to crash into each other. When they hit, a huge shockwave made a crater appear under them, and the impact made the wind howl. Narumi clenched her teeth as she hit Naruto with her white Rasengan and tried to beat him. He smiled at her and said, "You did well, Naru-chan, but you're not as good as me." His Rasengan began to push her back. As Naruto's attack went through the outside of Narumi's Rasengan, it began to bend back. Naruto trusted himself and moved forward after Narumi's Rasengan gave in to the pressure. Narumi was barely out of reach of Naruto's white Rasengan. "I win," Naruto said as he threw his attack away. Narumi could feel her cloak being pulled away from her male counterpart by an attack. The thought that this man saw her as nothing more than an ant scared her. "So what did you think, Hokage? Sama and Arrow? Sennin?" Naruto asked as he walked back to the village. He looked over at the tree where the two older men were hiding. They let go of their genjutsu, which made them invisible. Jiraiya frowned and asked the blonde ninja, "How did you find us?" Naruto smiled and said, "Secret." Then he flew away quickly from his Jinten bloodline. Hiruzen asked the blonde Uzumaki heir, "So what do you think, Narumi-chan?" She asked the two older leaf ninja, "How is he so strong?" "If I heard that right, he's me from another world." "Then how is he so much stronger than me when we're the same age?" Hiruzen exhaled. In his world everything happened 2 years earlier than here. He graduated at the age of 13 at the bottom of his class and trained with Jiraiya, but before he was mistreated by the village and they went as far as to torture him on his birthday. He then became the strongest ninja in the world with the use of Sage Mode and mastering the Kyuubi's chakra. He then fought in the Fourth Great Shinobi War where he defeated the Juubi, but he ended up dying along with the Kazekage. The old Sandaime Hokage told the young girl. When Narumi saw that, his eyes grew big. He had been through all of that before fighting her. He beat a demon that was much stronger than the Kyuubi that was locked inside her, and she hadn't even killed anyone yet. I think that he has been through a lot then. To think that by the time he was my current age he was a cage-level shinobi. She clarified the query. If Jiraiya saw a chance to tease his student, he spoke up. "What do you think about him sexually? Does being dominated by him in battle make you feel good?" He asked the blonde. Narumi got very red in the face and had to stop herself from killing the Sannin. "No. Why would I want to be with him? I don't even think that he's human. Did you see that chakra he had? It made the Kyuubis look like nothing." She refuted the claim. He saw that his student was upset and decided to keep making fun of her. "You know that since he is also the child of Kushina-chan and Minato-kun, he has to live with you. Who knows what bad things you two will do together? Maybe you'll bring your clan back to life with him," he said. After hearing Jiraiya make fun of her, Narumi was now blushing all over. She yelled, "Shut up, Arrow Sennin," as she walked back to her family's house. As she walked into her house, she thought to herself, "Stupid perverted old sage." She went to her bedroom and took off her clothes. She went to her bathroom to take a shower. When she opened the door, she hit a strong chest. It was too heavy for the other person, and they fell back. Narumi saw the man she had just fought looking shocked as she looked at his face. It seemed like they stared at each other for a very long time with blue eyes meeting. While Naruto looked at Narumi's body, Narumi looked at his ripped muscles. He's hooked up. She's beautiful. They both knew they'd been looking at each other for a long time. They both turned their heads away and blushed. Narumi got off of Naruto and looked along the ground. Naruto shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, I should have used your bathroom without your permission." It's okay, Naruto-san. I knew you'd be here," she told the blonde man. After a short time, Narumi came out of the bathroom fully dressed. "So, you're me from what I understand?" The blonde asked the Juubi as they sat down on a big couch in the living room. He smiled at her and said, "Yeah, I guess I'll be living with you. I'll take a guest room." But Narumi cut him off. She told the other blonde, who frowned, "No, you beat me fair and square. You should take the master bedroom." Naruto told Narumi, "No, this was your home first, so you should keep it." He meant that she should keep her room. She shook her head and frowned. No, you should take it because you went through so much before you were my age, she said, her eyes getting teary. When she said that, Naruto's eyes got really big. He told you? He asked her, already knowing the answer. Narumi answered with a nod. Look, I don't care about my past, that was in another world. It's your bed, so you're keeping it. Narumi didn't know what to say, so she chose to just nod. In the late evening, she tossed and turned while she slept. In her dreams, she kept seeing armies fighting each other. Something huge with 10 tails was destroying everything in its way. A man with red eyes fought 2 other men, one with blonde hair and the other with red hair. She saw the monster destroy 5 villages. Narumi woke up out of breath. Her forehead was wet with sweat. She got up and went to Naruto's room. She knocked on the door and waited a little while. In the other room, she heard steps that stopped before the door opened. The older blonde asked the girl, Narumi. Chan? What is it? While rubbing his tired eyes. With dark pink cheeks, she asked, I had a bad dream. Can I sleep with you? He yawned and said, sure. He then let her in. They both went to bed. She first noticed that Naruto was making her feel hot just by being there. Narumi couldn't help but wrap her arms around Naruto and try to soak up as much of his heat as she could. The next time she fell asleep, she didn't have any bad dreams. When Naruto woke up, there was something on his back. It made the blonde Uzumaki's heart melt when he looked back and saw Narumi cuddled up next to him with a happy smile. But then he realized something. Why does she sleep in my bed? He told himself this. Then he remembered that he had let her in last night because she was having bad dreams. He was so sleepy at the time that he didn't even remember what he was doing. She seemed to pull him closer like a teddy bear every time he tried to get away. After he sighed to himself, he made a shadow copy of himself and put it in place of himself so he could go make breakfast for them. Naruto left the bedroom, leaving Narumi asleep and the clone very happy. Going downstairs to the kitchen, he began to look through the cabinets for food ingredients that he could use to cook for himself and his younger self, Narumi. He found that Narumi's kitchen had every kind of food he could think of. Screw you, Gigi. His life would have been much better if you had told the village who my parents were. He cursed the Sandame from his world. He copied himself twice and told them to start making bacon and eggs. He told them to mix the ingredients to make a pancake batter, which is a food he had learned about in Snow Country. His favorite food was ramen, but these were in the top 10. He had tried them once and liked them, but not as much. He finished making the meal in about 30 minutes. He put 2 full plates on the table after making them. To his surprise, Narumi was already sitting down and staring at the food Naruto had made. She had dinner tools in her hands and a small drop of drool coming out of her open mouth. Naruto asked himself, how did she get her so quickly? A short time ago with Narumi. Narumi moved as she began to wake up from her sound sleep. When she looked down, she saw Naruto sleeping. She didn't understand why he was in her room. While she was shaking him gently, he woke up too. Her blonde friend asked, Naruto, what are you doing in my room? An eyebrow went up at the question. He told her, what are you talking about? You're in my room, remember? When Narumi turned around, she saw for the first time that she wasn't in her room, but Naruto's. She rubbed the back of her head in shame and said, oh, yeah, sorry. After smelling something wonderful, Naruto said, oh, it looks like the boss is done with your breakfast. And then he poofed, leaving the blonde Kyuubi Jinchuriki by herself. She quickly went to her room and changed into her usual clothes. They were the same as the ones she wore yesterday, except she wore a red tank top instead of a black shirt. He came out of the kitchen with 2 plates of food, and she ran down to the table just in time. As the male Namikaze brought in the dishes, she couldn't help but drool at the wonderful smell. She told the blonde Juubi, good morning Naruto. As he put the plates down, Naruto said, good morning, Naru-chan. He then sat down across from her at the table and began to eat. Naira got a little red in the cheeks when he called her by his pet name, which made Naruto laugh. Narumi pouted, but she chose to look at the food in front of her. She sat down with her own food after getting a knife and fork. When she took the first bite, her eyes lit up with happiness. I'm guessing you like my cooking? Naruto asked Narumi with a smirk. When Narumi nodded, she started to shove even more food into her mouth, which made Naruto start to sweat. When they were done eating, Naruto almost had to beg Narumi to make the same thing again the next day. Naru-chan, it's not healthy to eat the same thing over and over again. While it tastes good, it is also unhealthy. I made it today because it was my first day here. She cried anime tears and said, but Naru-kun, it was so good. Naruto couldn't help but laugh at the cute face she was making and the name she came up with for him. I'll make it again one day, just not every day, Naru-chan. And since when have you called me Naru-kun? He asked the blonde girl. The younger blonde asked, well, if you get to tease me, I'll tease you, Naru-kun. Narumi smiled. Naruto smiled and said, well, as long as I get to call you Naru-chan, I'm fine with that. He then turned and walked out the door. She responded, come on, Naru-chan, we have to get our teams today. Narumi yelled, wait up, Naru-kun. As she ran to catch up to Naruto because she had forgotten about it. The boy kept getting farther and farther ahead of her. He waited for her to catch up with him before going on. Office of the Hokage. The old man turned to face the three Jonin. His own son, Asuma Sarutobi, was one of them. The other two were Kazumi Hataki, a woman with silver hair who was a student of the 4th Hokage, and Kurenai Yuhi, the genjutsu mistress of Konoha. Asuma was a tall man with brown eyes, short, spiky black hair, and a beard. He wore the standard Konoha ninja uniform with the sleeves rolled up halfway, a flak jacket, regular shinobi sandals, and a forehead protector. He also wore a pair of black bangles, the 12 Guardian Ninja sash with the kanji for fire, written on it around his waist, and bandages wrapped around the arms of his sleeves. Kazumi's wild silver hair reached her shoulders and had a bang that covered her left eye but let you see her other eye. She wore a black mask that covered most of her face and pants with white tape wrapped around the right thigh. She wore a black shirt without sleeves and a Jonin jacket that covered her big D. Cups. Kurenai was a pretty tall, light-skinned, and slim woman. She had long, wild, black hair that reached her shoulders and very unusual eyes that were red with an extra ring in them. She wore red lipstick and purple eyeshadow. Her normal outfit was a red mesh armor blouse with only the right sleeve showing. On top of that was very wide material that looked like bandages and had a pattern on it that looked like rose thorns. He pulled out 3 pieces of paper from his desk and said, these are your teams. You will train them until they become Chunin. Kazumi-chan, you will train Sayuri Uchiha, Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze, and a new genin named Naruto Namikaze. He then pulled out a picture of the blonde and showed it to her. The picture made Kazumi's eyes widen, and she thought, he looks just like Minato. Sensei. Must be clan features. She said this with a small blush on her hidden cheeks. But I thought I had asked Sakura Haruno to be on the team, she asked the Sandaime. Hiruzen agreed, yes you did, but trust me when I say that he will fit in better with an assault team like yours than with an infiltration, reconnaissance, or tracking team. The old man told the woman with silver hair this. Kazumi sighed and let the new person join her team. Asuma-kun, your team will have Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akamichi, and Shikamaru Nara. Kurenai-chan, your team will have Hinata Hyuga, Inuko Inuzuka, and Shino Ururame. He finished reading the list of graduates. The 2 Jonin nodded and followed Kakashi out the door. Kazumi-chan, could you please stay here for a moment? The Jonin with silver hair turned around and spoke to the old man. Yes, Hokage. Sama? She asked. Hiruzen then became serious. This is about Naruto Namikaze. I want to tell you that he is dangerous. Very dangerous to an unimaginable degree. While I have only fight once against Narumi, I can tell that he was holding back much of his power, and I believe that he may also possibly have a variant of the Sharingan. I want you to report in behaviors that could suggest that he is a traitor to the Leafoke. The Sandaime Hokage of Konoha told the masked lady. The Jonin nodded and quickly left in a cloud of leaves. Hiruzen sighed and looked out the window behind his desk. What are you hiding, Naruto? He asked himself. When he sat down again, his desk was full of forms that he had to sign. Fucking paperwork, he thought as he began to do so. School of. As they walked through the halls, everyone they saw was envious of the 2 blondes. The girls were looking at Naruto and saying, "I want your children." While the boys were looking at Narumi and saying, "I want you to bear my children." Either way, it scared Naruto. He shivered as he walked into the classroom. It looked just like the one in his world before pain destroyed it during his attack. He saw Sayuri looking out the window like Sasuke used to do when he was in school and he was sane. He noticed that everyone looked the same except Kiba, who was a woman. She had wild brown hair that reached her mid. Back and wore a sleeveless coat with black fur around the neck that had a cutout in the front a little above the thighs to show off her toned legs. She also wore short black shorts and had a red fang tattoo on each cheek, just like the Kiba from his world. Everyone in the class looked at them when they walked in. The first person to talk to them was Ino Yamanaka, who was dressed just like she did when she was a genin. "Narumi-chan, who's your friend?" she asked Naruto. Narumi told the other blonde girl, "He's my cousin from my dad's side. He came to the Leaf yesterday to become a ninja." In a seductive voice, she introduced herself as, "Hey, my name is Ino, but you can just call me the girl of your dreams." She walked over to Naruto and wrapped her arms around his neck, pressing her high B cups into his chest. The blonde girl who was holding Naruto made Narumi want to kill her. She didn't know why. As they got closer, Naruto blushed and said, "Well, I don't know about that last thing, but my name is Naruto Namikaze." He was trying to get away from the blonde without hurting or killing her. "Oh Naruto-kun, don't be that way. You know you want me." Ino started to say more, but the female Kiba cut her off. She yelled, "Get off the man, slut," as she stomped down the stairs to the front of the room. Ino let go of Naruto and glared at the girl with brown hair. The Inuzuka heir was told, "Shut up. I'm trying to get a boyfriend, not your tomboy ass." Ino yelled back. The girl with brown hair yelled back at the Yamanaka heir, "What was that, you blonde whore? At least I try to get to know a guy before I try to date him." Both girls kept fighting until a wave of power hit the whole classroom. Everyone turned to face Naruto, who had his eyes closed and a sickly sweet smile that he had learned from Mei the Mizukage. "Girls, please stop fighting now," he said in a creepy voice, threatening them with pain if they didn't. When he opened his eyes, they were glowing blue orbs that screamed, "Powered." Nobody in the room didn't feel like someone was holding their throat and that they would die if they did anything that the person causing the aura didn't like. But one Uchiha had some strange thoughts about the feeling. With hunger in her eyes, Sayuri Uchiha looked at Naruto. She respected power, which is why she and Narumi became fast friends, and this man had a lot of it. He would be perfect to help me rebuild my clan. I wouldn't mind sharing him either because of the CRA if it was passed, she thought to herself as she tried to look at him directly. He pointed at Sakura and said, "Ino-chan, why don't you go talk to your pink-haired friend over there?" He then turned to the female Kiba and said, "I'm sorry miss, I didn't get your name." Shuddering, she said, Inuko." Naruto's strong aura was, to say the least, turning her on. Since her clan had some dog-like traits, females are often drawn to strong males who will dominate them while mating. "Nice to meet you, Inuko-chan. Let's have lunch one day and get to know each other better," Naruto told her. Inuko turned bright red because he was basically asking her to go on a date. Sure, how about this Saturday? She finally got out. Naruto's all-pervasive aura went away as he smiled and said to the brown-haired dog girl, "Sure, I'll pick you up at noon." She just nodded. The blonde demon blushed as Ino teased him, "Naruto-kun, why can't you take me on a date? I know you can have more than one wife since you're the last man in your clan." The demon had forgotten about the law that was about to be passed on him if the war hadn't started. When Yamanaka asked her man to go on a date with her, Inuko snapped at her. Since when was he her man? She knew all about the Clan Restoration Act of the Shodem Hokage and didn't care if she had to share, but she did care about why girls wanted to be with a guy. She hated girls who only wanted a guy for power and money, which is why she disliked Sakura and less so Ino. While walking up to where Sayuri was sitting, Naruto sighed and said, "Fine, Ino-chan, but next week since I'm taking Inuko-chan out this week." Narumi sat down next to Sayuri, and Naruto sat down next to her. Naruto turned to her best friend and said, "Hey Sayuri-chan." Sayuri smiled at Narumi. After what happened with Uchiha, she was her only hope and kept her from turning into a power hungry freak. In a way, she was even a little interested in Narumi. "Hey Narumi-chan, isn't that the man who killed those Anbu back in the ramen stand?" she asked Naruto in a low voice. She told the girl with dark hair, "Yeah, that's Naru-kun. He's staying with me at my clan home since he's a Namikaze after all." "Oh, he's staying at your house? Narumi, you naughty girl, who knows what you and he must have done during the night?" Sayuri teased her friend. Several men and women passed out from lack of blood after hearing this. "Hey, maybe I could join you two next time?" she joked, or really joked. She was now blushing all over and said, "That's not true. He was part of the clan, so I let him stay there." She denied the charges. Someone teased Sayuri, "Oh, and you didn't get into bed with him?" When she realized what she had said, she screamed, "How did you know I did that?" and put both hands over her mouth. The whole class was shocked to hear that Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze slept in the same bed as his male cousin after meeting him one day. Sayuri said, "Whoa Narumi-chan, I didn't know you were so forward like that." She spoke out loud, It wasn't like that. I had a nightmare and he comforted me at night." Before she realized what she had said, Naruto had a big red face as he watched everything happen. Sayuri asked her blonde friend, "So you don't feel anything for him?" She was being sarcastic because they were best friends. There was a loud "no" from Narumi. "So you wouldn't mind if I do this?" she asked as she jumped on Naruto and kissed him on the lips. Naruto was shocked when the female Uchiha kissed him. When Narumi saw this, she snapped. She growled as she pushed Sayuri off of Naruto and yelled at the girl with the raven hair, "Get off my man." It made Naruto blush even more, and he asked himself, "Her man?" Sayuri asked, "So he's your man now?" Inside she was enjoying the way that kiss made her feel. She could get used to it. "That's it, my cousin," she said, stressing the word, cousin. It was just in time for Iruka to appear in a cloud of smoke to stop Narumi from embarrassing herself even more. "Congratulations to all of you on graduating from the academy." He began his hour-long speech about being a good ninja and always doing your job. Iruka read out loud for the class to hear, and the teams are as follows. Team 1 will be Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze, Sayuri Uchiha, and Naruto Namikaze. Your Jonin sensei will be Kazumi Hitaki. Team 8 will be Hinata Hyuga, Inuko Inazuka, and Shino Ururame. Your Jonin will be Kurenai Yuhi. And Team 9 is still in circulation from last year, so Team 10 will be Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Choji Akamichi. Your sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. Naruto decided to ask Narumi why she was so excited about having Kakashi as their Jonin sensei. "Hey Naru-chan, why are you so excited about having Kakashi as your sensei?" he asked the blonde Jinchuriki next to him. "Because Kakashi-ni-chan helped take care of me when I was younger in the village," Narumi said with a huge smile that could make the sun green with envy. He thought to himself, "Nay-chan." After Iruka left, several Jonin came in to pick up their teams. Finally, 3 adults walked into the room. One called Asuma told his team to meet him at the barbecue bar in 30 minutes, and the other 2 told their teams to follow. This left Team 7 alone with a woman with silver hair. Naruto turned red from the beauty of the Jonin in front of him. "Meet me on the roof in 10 minutes, she said in a sweet but stern voice as she shunshined out of the room. Naruto followed her in a shunshin of black fire, with Narumi and Sayuri following behind with their leaf shunshins. Kazumi climbed up to the roof, pulled out her little orange book, and began to read. Behind her, the blonde was looking over her shoulder, but she didn't notice. Naruto asked the kunoichi with silver hair, "What are you reading?" It shocked her that he could sneak up behind her and ask her. She shut the book quickly and put it away. She looked calm on the outside, but she was freaking out on the inside. Why in the name of Icha did he sneak up behind me and not let me know? She screamed to herself, damn it, she was a Jonin. Naruto smiled at her, and Kazumi couldn't help but blush at how cute he looked with that smile. He asked her in a harmless way, "Hey, are you okay? You look red. Do you have a fever?" as he put his palm on her head, making her blush even more. Kazumi quickly pulled back, still red in the face. "No, I'm fine," she said as the other two genin walked up. It made Kazumi feel better that the other two girls had finally shown up. When she looked back to where Naruto was, he was gone. When she turned around to see the girls again, Naruto was sitting between them. How did he get there so fast? Wow, she told herself in shock. She looked at the older Kunoichi with worry in her eyes and asked, "Chan, is something wrong?" She said, "Nothing is wrong," which made Naruto smile. She was beginning to understand why the Hokage told her to be careful around him. She told them, "Let's start by getting to know each other. Just tell us about your likes, dislikes, hobbies, and dreams. Why don't you show us how it's done and go first, sensei?" Naruto asked the Kunoichi with silver hair. Kazumi gave Naruto a mean look and then nodded. "Very well, my name is Kazumi Hataki. I don't feel like telling you what I like or dislike, and my hobbies are none of your business. As for dreams, I don't really have one," she said, making all three of them sweat. Naruto smiled and said, "You like porn and don't like people who look down on it. Your hobbies are reading porn and praying for your lost teammates. Your dream is to be in an Icha movie." The three women on the roof were shocked and looked at him with wide eyes. How did he know that? He only knew me for a minute, but he already knew all of that. She thought this in shock. She now knew that Naruto was more than what he seemed to be. She told the oldest genin, "Good guess. Why don't you go?" "Sure. My name in Naruto Namikaze, I like training, ramen, my friends and family. I dislike traitors, arrogant people, the time it takes to make ramen, and those that can't tell the difference between a scroll and a sealed kunai. My hobbies are training and pranking. My dream in more of an ambition since I will make it come true, which is world peace and ending the cycle of hatred that controls this world," Naruto said to the amazement of Kakashi. Naruto was very serious when he said he wanted to make the world peaceful. Kazumi gave Narumi a nod and a finger. She smiled a little behind her mask and said, "Go Imoto. My name is Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze, and I like and dislike the same things as my cousin. I also hate rapists and perverts. I like to train, play jokes, and hang out with my friends. My dream is to have a family and be the best Hokage," she told the group, who pretty much already knew all of that. Kazumi said, "Okay Sayuri. Chan, get up. My name is Sayuri Uchiha. I like tomatoes, Narumi. Chan, and training. I dislike rapers, perverts, the civilian council and my older brother. My hobbies are training and hanging out with Narumi. Chan. My dream is to revive my clan and bring a certain person to justice," she told the group. He thought about what she said and said, "She's a lot more open than Sasuke used to be. Narumi must have played a big role in that. I might have been able to save Sasuke from his darkness if I had been more involved in his life back then. I have to leave that behind, please." His thoughts were, "This is a new world and a new life that I have been given. I will save this world." The three women watched as his face showed a range of feelings, such as sadness, regret, anger, hope, and determination. "Good," she told the three genin, "we'll meet at Training Ground 7 tomorrow at 6 in the morning. We'll have a test to see if you're really fit to be a ninja for Konoha." This jolted him out of his thoughts. Sayuri looked lost and asked the Kunoichi with silver hair, "Sensei? Didn't we already pass that test?" "No, that test was to weed out the weaker ones that are unfit to be even considered at the moment. This will be your true test. If you pass, then we will start taking missions. Oh, and don't eat breakfast tomorrow morning or you'll throw up," she said after explaining. After that, she jumped off the roof. Naruto got up and looked down at the two girls who were sitting down. "I think you should all get to the training ground 3 hours late and eat breakfast. You need all the energy you can get," he said as he jumped off the roof. Sayuri asked her best friend, "Hey Narumi. Chan, do you want to go shopping?" It was important to her to spend more time with her friend and learn more about the blonde man who was living with her. Narumi smiled and said, "Sure thing, Sayuri. Chan. I also owe you for leaving you on the ramen stand unconscious." Sayuri made a funny face and said, "Yeah, I almost forgot about that." That evening, from the bridge on top of Minato's head on the Hokage monument, Naruto could see the village. There were so many shops in the strongest ninja village that the lights from them made it look like 1,000 suns. Naruto didn't turn around and said, "Isn't it a beautiful sight?" Itachi. Out from behind the monument, in the shade of a tree. A bigger Uchiha asked the blonde shinobi, "How did you know I was here?" When Naruto stood up, he looked back at the man with black hair and said, "That is none of your business." He asked, "What do you want?" In Naruto's world, Itachi was respected for putting the village first and keeping it safe, but Naruto didn't like how he made Sasuke hate him. Itachi looked at Naruto with narrowed eyes. "I was told to come here and offer you a job in the organization I joined," he began, but Naruto cut him off. Naruto surprised the older Uchiha by saying, "You think I joined the Akatsuki? I bet that plant. Crazy Zetsu makes you think you know everything about me. How does he already know so much? The Akatsuki has only told a few people that we are hired killers. Besides that, he knows about Zetsu." The elder Uchiha thought in a little panic, he could be trouble. "I should take him out now if he refuses." Naruto laughed and said, "Take your offer and tell Nagato or Pain or whatever the fuck he is calling himself to shove it up his ass. I refuse to join you, and if you even try to touch Narumi Chan." He just stopped speaking because he was ready to kill. Itachi's breath shook as the wave of hate and anger hit him. He gave Naruto a mean look and used his Mangekyo Sharingan. "I have no other choice," he thought as he spoke, "Tsukiyomi," and looked into Naruto's eyes. World of Tsukiyomi. Naruto was put to death on a stone cross. He looked up and saw a red moon and a blood red sky. It was completely dark on the ground below him. Then Itachi said, "I'm sorry, but I have to kill you." 3 copies of himself then showed up. Naruto laughed and said, "You think you've beaten me? How silly of you to think that." He then channeled chakra into his hand seal, breaking the first and second seals and instantly raising his chakra level from 2 tails to 6 tails. The powerful flash broke the Uchiha's strongest genjutsu. Around Naruto, it looked like the world broke like glass. The real world. Itachi was now on his knees, bloody right eye in his hand and panting. He looked up at Naruto with his left eye, which was fine. He was scared now that this person had broken his most powerful genjutsu and sent out a biju. Level chakra pulse. If he hadn't put up a wall around the monument, he was sure that every ninja in the village would have felt that. Who is he? He got out of it without a Sharingan? He had this thought. When he looked down at his left hand, he saw white cracks in it. Fuck it, I need to go. I never thought I'd hear those 2 words, he thought as he turned to leave. Bansho Tenin, he felt himself pulling toward the blonde. Itachi pulled out his katana and stabbed himself in the ground to stay put. While Nagato's Shinra Tensai recharged in 5 seconds, Naruto's took 20 seconds. He clenched his teeth and said, "Shit, I haven't gotten good enough control over this one yet." It was true that Naruto's Bansho Tenin wasn't as strong as Nagato's or his fellow Uzumaki. He could not even make the Chibaku Tensai. He had a little better Sharingan skills than Itachi because he could call up the flames of Amaterasu and use the Tsukiyomi, but they were still not as good as Itachi's. Also, his Susanoo was only an arm. Naruto stopped his jutsu and put himself in the stance for taijutsu. Itachi was ready to fight now that he was back on his feet. Itachi told the blonde, "Your raw power may be higher than mine, but my eyes are stronger." He looked Itachi straight in the eye and said, "Really? Take a look." Then he showed him what Naruto called his Tengen. Naruto said with full confidence, "These are the strongest eyes in the world." He had always wished he could beat up Itachi, and now was the perfect time. When Itachi saw the Namikaze heir's cloudy eyes, he got very excited. But what scared him was the 9 Tomo in each eye. He told him in a whisper, "They look like a cross between the Rinnegan and the Sharingan." Naku said to Uchiha, "I'll let you make the first move." A man with black hair charged at Naruto and kicked him in the right kidney. Naruto didn't answer. Naruto blurred out of the way and came back 10 meters to the left less than a second before the attack hit. He rushed at the Uchiha and said, "Too slow, Itachi." Naruto aimed a punch at Itachi's head, but the Uchiha saw it coming thanks to his Sharingan and blocked it. If you put your right hand in front of your mouth and spit out a big fireball at Naruto, that's what Itachi called Kaiten. Grand Fireball Jutsu. He said this under his breath. Naruto spewed out Shinra Tensei as he threw the fireball away with a blast of gravity. Naruto and his hand both sigh as they land. He said, Doten. Rock Saber Killer Jutsu as he hit the ground with both hands. When Itachi jumped back in time, a huge rock spear shot out from under him. Itachi said, Kaiten. Fire Dragon Jutsu as he threw a fiery dragon at the blonde, Genin. 14, 15, 16. Shit right away. His Shinra Tensei was taking a while to recharge, so he thought of this. Instead, he reached out his hand and took the fiery dragon inside himself. He could feel his body turn down the chakra. He thought that because he was using Yoki instead of chakra, his body wouldn't be able to handle normal chakra without training. He was right, too. He said, Raiden. False darkness as he made single snake hand signs. He swung his mouth open like a lightning bolt at the Uchiha. The attack did work, but Itachi was replaced by a log. A stream of black fire shot out from behind Naruto, and he jumped out of the way. The fires were following Naruto and would attack him as soon as he hit the ground. He then had a dangerous thought. He called up a long pitch black tail and used it to grab a tree and pull himself up. As the flames moved toward the tree he was standing on, he made more hand signs. Fuinjutsu, he said as he pulled out a scroll and put the seal on it. The black flames quickly went through the scroll. After the blonde beat 2 of Itachi's 3 Mangekyo Jutsu, he smiled because his eyes were beginning to hurt. When Naruto kicked Itachi in the head, he said, You shouldn't let your opponent get behind you. Itachi then hit a rock hard enough that it broke. Itachi slowly got back on his feet, but this time there were white cracks all over his body. He said in a voice that seemed to change pitch like a woman speaking, I wish I didn't have to use this, but I will not die here or by your hands. As bones began to form into a huge skeleton with 2 extra sets of arms connected at the elbow, a red flame like aura grew around Itachi. After the bones were fully formed, muscles began to form around the bones that were already there. Next came skin. The last part was a red cloak that covered its whole body. In its right hand, a sword that looked like flames appeared, and in its left, a shield that looked like flames appeared. A sake jar was in its second right hand. In a voice that changed, Itachi told the blonde, This is my ultimate ninjutsu, Susanoo. He had tears in both eyes now. Naruto gave this a frown watch. He had seen for himself how strong Itachi's Susanoo was with that shield in the sword of Totsuka, which would keep him out if he got hit. It was going to be a pain, for sure. Naruto said, It looks like now is a great time to try this out. A black sphere was surrounding him. That's right, Naruto said, You are the first person to see me change. Not even I know what I will look like, but I know it will be scary. The orb around him was now completely black, so Itachi couldn't see the body. The ball began to get bigger until it was about the size of his Susanoo. The orb stopped growing just a little short of being the same size as Itachi's Susanoo. A great deal of chakra began to leak out as the orb began to crack. The orb finally broke, showing Naruto's demon form. His new form was very much like the fully revived Juubi, but smaller. The chest area looked like a person and was silver. The rest of it was completely black. It had long arms and legs and 2 clawed hands. Several black spikes jumped out from its back. His head was now longer, with a huge jaw and 1 big eye that had spikes sticking out of the back. There were 6 long black tails behind it. Naruto let out a roar that made the ground shake. Itachi was scared when he saw Naruto's new form. He knew that even his Susanoo would have a hard time dealing with the power he was sending out, which was Biju level. Is that a Biju? But we know about all the Biju so far, and the Rokubi was a huge slug, Itachi thought. What does Naruto say in his deep, evil voice? Well, what do I look like? Itachi looked at him with a scared look on his face. Naruto told the Uchiha, I guess it's scary then. Naruto, the demon, looked at Itachi with narrowed eyes and asked, What are you? I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the god of judgment. The jubilant Naruto yelled at the Uchiha. The wall Itachi built kept them from feeling Naruto's chakra and hearing them, but Naruto's demon foresight turned the moon red in the sky. People in all of the elemental nations saw the red moon. Itachi had to put his hands over his ears to block out the noise. He swung the legendary sword and said, Well then, God of Judgment, let's see if you deserve that title. He jumped back to avoid the blade. Naruto began to combine the black good chakra and the white bad chakra into a big purple ball in its mouth. As Naruto ate it, the sphere shrunk. Itachi raised his shield to protect himself from the attack because he knew what was going to happen. The Juubi turned on its attack, which tore the ground apart as it hit Itachi's shield. The attack slowly pushed Itachi's Susanoo back as his Yata mirror began to break. Naruto's attack ran out of power before it could fully break. Itachi was out of breath as his shield began to heal itself. He charged at Naruto with the goal of securing him. The next time Itachi tried to do a horizontal, Naruto sidestepped it and jumped back. Itachi's Susanoo was thrown back when Naruto slid back and then charged forward and punched it in the face. Naruto began to gather small white light beams into the tips of all 6 of his tails. Naruto yelled as he fired 6 chakra beams at Itachi's Susanoo. "Let's see you block this." Spear of Heaven 6. Tails Beam. To stop the attacks, Itachi set up the Yata mirror. When the 6 beams hit the partially fixed shield, they left behind 6 creators. "Is that all?" Itachi asked out loud as thin lines of blood ran down his face and into his eyes. As the mirror began to crack, Naruto said, "Check again." The mirror then broke into many pieces. The ultimate defense had been broken, and Itachi gasped. Naruto laughed and said, "Looks like your shield isn't as strong as you thought." He yelled, "I'm not done yet," as he charged at Naruto. He swung his sword at Naruto, but Naruto dodged all of them. With his 2 free left arms, he grabbed 2 of Naruto's tails and threw him against the mountain wall. Itachi yelled, "Die!" as he stabbed Naruto in the chest. Naruto felt like he was being pulled into the sake jar in Susanoo's second right hand. Naruto roared, "I will not be beaten. I will protect this village. I will protect the world," as he made a small biju bomb that was wrapped in lightning. He yelled, "Light hack," and shot a thin yellow beam with a black outline through the attack, which went through the Susanoo and hit Itachi in the stomach. A 6-inch hole was made. Itachi's Susanoo faded as the man with black hair and a stomach held down fell to the ground. Naruto changed back into a person and set off the first 2 seals on his hand again. He saw that Itachi was not the same as before. His face looked less manly and his hair was longer. He looked a little shorter and had 2 big bulges on his chest that were a little easier to see because most of his clothes were torn around the middle. His hips were bigger than they had been. Is he a girl? Is this it? Naruto asked himself as he walked over to the body. Before he passed out, the last thing Itachi saw was Naruto coming toward him. He begged, "Please don't kill me." Naruto didn't answer. He just kept walking toward him. When Itachi woke up, he moved around. When he got out of bed, his eye flew open. He turned around and saw that he was in a cave with only a small flashlight for light. 2 things caught his eye when he looked down. One was that he was now a she and that bandages were around his middle. From a dark corner of the room, a voice said, "So you've got up." It was dark when Naruto came out of it. He said with a small smirk, "You were hurt after our fight." When he said that, Itachi's eyes got bigger. He remembered that he had tried to recruit the blonde but ended up fighting him instead. He remembered that the blonde turned into a black-tailed animal and fought him. Then at the end, the blonde demon shot a lightning bolt. She gasped, "You were that monster I was fighting." He looked at her and nodded. "Yes, that was me, but that's not important right now. Let's start with something simple. Who are you?" He asked the girl with black hair. Even though Itachi didn't want to, he couldn't say no at that moment. The blonde asked her name, and she said, "Izumi Uchiha. I am one of only 4 Uchihas left in the world." Naruto gave a smile and a nod. "Thank you, Izumi-san. Now I already know why you killed your clan, so you will not have to explain that to me," he said to her amazement. "But let's get back to business," Naruto said with a frown. "What have you learned about the Akatsuki so far?" The woman with raven hair told the blonde demon, "Right now we're just trying to make extra money by doing work around the elemental nations. But soon we'll be hunting the Jinchuriki. I can't tell you anymore." He just looked her straight in the eyes. The blonde's simple look at Izumi made her feel like her whole world was on fire. "Before we go on," Naruto said, "Very well, now let me let you ask a few questions of your own." He then sat down at the foot of the bed. Who are you? Naruto grinned. That's a good question. Well, my name is Naruto Namikaze. I am currently a genin, but only because the Hokage doesn't trust me with a higher rank yet. My team is made up of Kazumi Hitaki, Sayuri Uchiha your sister, and Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze my cousin. Naruto said with a grin. Izumi gave what she had just been told some thought. The man in front of her was a genin on her sister's team, but he was stronger than her. She asked the blonde demon, what are your plans? Well, my goal in life is a simple in nature but hard to obtain. I want world peace, but not the kind that Madara wants, but true peace through understanding. Naruto told the former man. Naruto turned to the Uchiha and said, I think it's my turn to ask you a question now. Izumi gave him a nod and motioned for him to keep asking questions. Tell me, why were you disguised as a male in the first place? Naruto sought answers. As Izumi looked down at the bed through tears, she said, my father never really loved me. He was always disappointed in me for being a girl. He didn't want a weak heir, and he thought girls were weak, so he decided that his next child, Sayuri, would be the next head of the clan instead of me. But Sayuri was born, another daughter. Seeing that he had another daughter, he forced me to pretend to be a boy so the clan wouldn't lose face. Tears ran down her cheeks as she spoke. Naruto clenched his teeth at what Fugaku did to his daughter. Making someone act like someone else is a terrible thing to do. It was disrespectful to women, life, and nature. As Naruto moved toward Izumi, he wrapped his arms around her to comfort her. That's horrible. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. Izumi got a little red in the face when she felt Naruto's strong muscles under his shirt. Naruto was pushed away by Izumi, who stopped crying and told the blonde, there is nothing to be sorry about. The blonde smiled back at her. Naruto saw the door. Well, it seems like our time is up since your partner is coming. I'll leave you 2 parting gifts as a show of trust to you. First is a seal that I put on your right hand, which allows you to activate a genjutsu that will make you look like Itachi. It cannot be deactivated by anyone but you and me. Lastly, I'll leave you a Hiraishin kunai in case you ever want to talk with me. Naruto said as he gave her the small blade. I'll take care of Sayuri, don't worry. Kisame broke through the wall just as he said. There you are, Itachi. Kisame said as he held out the samahana, his sword. Kisame was a tall man with light blue skin and short, spiked black hair. The shark's name told the Uchiha, who was now a male, found you, Itachi. San. Naruto spoke out loud to them, Kisame Hoshigaki, the monster of the mist. There was only one hand sign from Naruto. Well, I did what I had to do, so goodbye, Naruto said as he walked out the door. Kisame is charged at the Namikaze because he loves fighting so much. He yelled, oh no you don't. As he swung his samahana at Naruto. The words, Shinra Tensai, from Naruto sent Kisame flying back to the wall next to Izumi. Naruto gave Kisame a mean look while his Tengen was active. Naruto said, tell your leader that my eyes will always be stronger, no matter how strong he thinks his eyes are. His eyes lit up red, and he was gone in a flash of speed. Kisame slowly stood up and said, damn him. He felt like every bone in his body had just been broken. Come on, Itachi, we need to tell Pain Sama about this, he said as he slowly walked out of the hole he had made. Izumi followed him. Naruto smirked as he looked down at the two from a roof and said, this time the Akatsuki will not win. He told himself, I will protect Konoha no matter what. And then he hid himself. The next morning, Naruto, Narumi, and Sayuri met at the training field to wait for their sensei Kazumi. She was 3 hours late for the test, and 2 of them were sick of waiting. Narumi yelled to the sky, Kami. When will she get here? Naruto, who was reading a book, put up 3 fingers and said in a calm voice, 3, 2, 1. As soon as he said, 1, Kazumi came in on foot. Naruto put down his book and said, you're late, Kazumi. Sensei. She looked up from her book and said, whatever. She sighed and took out 2 bells. She told him, your test is to get these 2 bells. Those who don't get one will be sent back to the academy for another year. If you want one, come at me with the intent to kill. You have until noon to get one. Also, whoever doesn't get one doesn't get to eat lunch. He then tied the bell to her hip and set a timer on a log. The bell test, Naruto thought as he remembered the first time he took it with Sakura and Sasuke. She said, begin. Narumi and Sayuri ran away from the older Jonin and hid. Naruto did not move. He just stood there. She put down her book and looked up at Naruto. At least it looks like the two girls know how to be stealthy, but this move seems a bit hasty. She thought to herself, I wonder what he can really do. You know you hide. You're just a genin and I'm an elite jonin, there's no way you can beat me in a one-on-one fight. She said with a hint. Naruto smiled and said, you shouldn't be so cocky, sensei. He did this while getting 10 shuriken ready. Naruto threw all of them and said, let's see you dodge this. Light speed shuriken. Kazumi wasn't even able to move or draw a kunai before the 10 hit her. They looked like yellow streaks running through the air. Somebody on Sayuri and Narumi's team seemed to kill their sensei with just one move, which made their eyes widen. The time they woke up was when they saw Kazumi turn into a log. He jumped out of a tree and hit Naruto. She kicked him in the head. Quickly, Naruto grabbed the kunoichi with his right hand, threw him away, and then caught the kick. He said, don't underestimate me. Jinten. Bullet punch, as he appeared in front of Kazumi in an instant and hit her back with a series of punches that were more powerful than the attack itself. He slowly stood up and turned to face Naruto. This isn't a genin at all. He's moving faster than Minato. Sensei when his Hiraishin is taken away. He said that he wasn't normal, so is this what he meant? I thought to herself as she took a stand. You're good Naruto, I see what the Hokage meant when he said that you weren't normal, but from this point on all in control. You have taijutsu down but let's see how you handle genjutsu. She said as she did some hand gestures. Demonic illusion tree binding death turned off the kunoichi. Naruto got stuck when a tree grew around him. Kazumi came down from the tree and put a kunai around his neck. Give up I win. He smiled at the older woman and closed his eyes. Naruto said as he turned into a flock of crows, you shouldn't assume things Kazumi. Sensei, especially since you were already trapped in my genjutsu. When Naruto walked up to Kazumi, her eyes got really big. She looked at him with narrowed eyes and let go of her genjutsu. By moving her hair out of the way, she could see her Sharingan. She shut one of her healthy eyes and said, that's it, your genjutsu will no longer work. Nahue told the Jonin, sorry sensei, but I still win. The Jonin just looked at him. He said, don't believe me? Well I'll have to show you, as the sun went down and the sky turned red. The trees turned gray and the grass and leaves turned white. Naruto said, welcome to the Tsukiyomi, before riding off into the sky with a flock of crows. This made Kazumi's one eye look bigger. What? When did he catch me? As chains jumped out of the bushes and wrapped around her arms, she thought, this is it. Chains jumped out of the ground and wrapped around her legs. A group of crows formed the face, torso, and arm on Naruto's right side. Naruto held up a sword made of more crows and put it around her neck. Give up. I may not be able to use this jutsu for the full length of 3 days, but 24 hours is good enough for this fight. He told the kunoichi. He said, the Sumiyomi. But that's a Mangekyo jutsu, so Hokage. Sama was right. He does have a different form of the Sharingan, she thought as she tried to get out of the strong genjutsu. She tried everything but couldn't break it. Wow, I was so stupid to fall for that trap, she thought to herself. Fine, I give up. The Naruto in front of her smiled and then became a storm of birds. As soon as the Tsukiyomi left, everything around her went back to normal. Kazumi fell to her knees and was gasping for air. The real Naruto went over to Kunoichi, who was lying on the ground, and took off all of her bells. He turned away and said, well, we're done. Narumi was amazed to see how her male counterpart beat an A rank Kunoichi with little stress. Sayuri had a different thought. Oh, those eyes. They looked just like Itachi's did the day he killed our clan. Who is he? An Uchiha? Perhaps there is another Uchiha left besides her brother, she thought to herself. Naruto's voice rang out over the train tracks, Sayuri. Chan. Narumi. Chan. The test is over. Come out. He said as he climbed up on top of a log post and held out his right hand, holding the 2 bells. The 2 grills came out from behind some trees and into the clearing where Naruto and Kazumi were. His words were, catch, as he threw a bell to each of them. The two of them heard Naruto say, "We either pass as a team or we fail as a team." "So what is it, Kazumi? Sensei? Pass or fail?" She smiled and said to the three, "You three ate the first ones to pass my test. Next Monday, we'll start training and going on missions. Enjoy the rest of your weekend." She put down her adult book and left. Naruto smiled and walked away from the clearing, leaving the two Kunoichi friends to be alone. Sayuri looked at her best friend and asked the blonde Kunoichi, Narumi. "Chan, is Naruto a Uchiha?" It made her friend sad, but Narumi shook her head and said, "No, he's not a Uchiha." She asked her friend, "Why do you ask?" Sayuri looked down at her friend with tears in her eyes and said, "His eyes. They reminded me of my brother Itachi's eyes when he killed my parents. They looked like the Mangekyo Sharingan my brother had." Narumi hugged her friend and looked her in the eyes. "I don't really know what his eyes do, but I do know that they are called the Tengen and it's supposed to be a powerful dojutsu that allow he to do amazing things. I'm sorry I can't tell you more, but that is as much as I know about those eyes of his," she told her friend. "I'm sure he'll tell us more as we get to know each other better." "Let's go to the hot springs," Sayuri said as she let go of her friend. Sayuri said while putting on a brave face. Narumi happily agreed and followed. Neither of them noticed the crow watching them from a branch. The black bird flew away from the clearing when the two girls were gone. The Hokage Tower. The old cage stood in front of 9 Jonin. He sighed and said, "So far, 6 out of 9 teams have failed their test. What about your team, Kazumi? Chan?" He asked her this because he knew the team had passed because he had been watching them through his crystal ball. She told her fellow Jonin, Team 7 passed. It was made up of Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze, Sayuri Uchiha, and Naruto Namikaze. "Kazumi, could you please tell us how the team did?" Hiruzen asked Kunoichi, who had silver hair. Kazumi said, "When the test began, the two of them tried to hide from me. He stuck around to fight. I had way too low of expectations for him. It almost killed me one time when he threw shuriken so fast that they made lines in the air. He shocked me even more with his taijutsu, and then he put me in a genjutsu that I couldn't get out of. I also confirmed that he does have a type of the Sharingan and can use the Tsukiyomi, which is the Uchiha's most powerful genjutsu." She finished telling the story. When the other Jonin heard how skilled a single genin was, they were shocked. To trap a Jonin like Kazumi in a genjutsu and then use the Tsukiyomi, that was truly amazing. "Okay, that sounds good. This is Kurenai. Chan. What about your team?" She answered with "passed," and her eyes were red. "What is Asuma? Kun? What do you think?" The old cage asked his second son. The man with the beard told his father, "Passed as well." He then took a drag from his cigarette and asked, "You want me to make a second coming of the Ino? Shika. Cho team, right?" "Yes, the first one worked very well, so a new generation would be good for the village," the old cage said. Hiruzen answered his son's question, "Very well, it looks like all the clan heirs died this year." Dismissed. After the 9 had left, Hiruzen looked in the farthest corner of the office to the left. "You can come out now, Rokudame." "Dono." There was a genjutsu because the wood on the wall was warped. He got out of the ripple and looked at the Hokage. Naruto asked the cage, "Tell me, why didn't you tell Sayuri Chan that Itachi was really a girl named Izumi?" Hiruzen hummed while he thought of a right answer. The old man asked Naruto, "How would you feel if you found out that your whole family had been lying to you your whole life?" Sayuri Chan, or Sasuke as you know him from your world, was seriously raped that day. So was Sayuri. Naruto just stared at the old cage. He finally spoke after a long time of silence. "I would feel like I couldn't trust anyone anymore." He gave the blonde a nod and asked, "See? But can you tell me how you found out about her secret?" Hiruzen nodded. Question. Naruto asked, "Have you seen the space behind the Hokage monument?" He shook his head and said, "No, I haven't." "Why?" He nervously scratched the back of his head and laughed. "Well, she came to me offering me a place in the Akatsuki to replace Orochimaru." Teme. Hiruzen grimaced when he heard the name of his former student. "I refused to join, so she had to fight me to the death or until I joined. I defeated her, but I may have gone overboard a bit." The old man said with a sly grin, "I see. Well, I think you should get ready for your date with Inuko tomorrow. Hiruzen nodded. The younger Kage got a mean look from Naruto. You were spying on me? Naruto asked, making a mark on his forehead. Saturday, at the Inuzuka compound. He wore a burnt orange dress shirt and black pants as he walked toward the big gates of the... Wow, this place looks just like the one in my world. I also can't believe I'm going on a date with Kiba, Naruto thought as he made a sound like he was gagging. Naruto said to himself while shaking his head, no, this isn't Kiba. This is someone else. When he got to the gates, two people stopped him to see who he was. As one of the guards told them, state your business with the Inuzuka. He smiled and told the two, I'm here to pick up Inuko-chan for our date. They were shocked. In a deep bow, the guard who stopped him said, I'm sorry for the delay, Namikaze. Sama, I should have known it was you. He begged him to forgive him. Naruto waved it away and said, it's okay, you were just doing your job. He then walked forward. The compound was very big. It was mostly forests, but there were some buildings here and there. The largest was right in the middle, and he thought that was where the clan leader lived. Many people from the clan came up to him as he walked through the compound. As soon as he got to the door, he made sure he didn't look suspicious. He knocked on the door because he saw that he was good. Wait a minute, a voice in English said from behind the door. Naruto waited for Inuko to answer the door for a moment. Naruto was shocked, that's not even close to the truth. The only word that came to his mind as he looked at the beautiful picture in front of him was beautiful. Inuko was dressed in a light tan kimono with a red sash around her waist. Her brown hair looked like silk, and she pulled it back into a ponytail. She got a little red in the cheeks from being called beautiful. She said, Hey, with a little bow. Even though she usually felt great about herself, this was her first date that wasn't planned ahead of time. Shesh spoke in a rough voice, you look good. He smiled and said, thanks, you look good too. He then extended his hand. As the two of them left the compound, Inuko took the man's hand slowly. After 2 hours, the two of them sat next to each other on the Hokage monument. Their date went well. They agreed on some things they liked. The date was fun all around. He told the girl next to him, that was a good date, Inuko-chan. With a small blush, Inuko smiled and said, yeah, it was fun. Thanks for taking me to that restaurant. It looked pricey. Naruto said with a kind smile that made Inuko blush, I was nothing. With her eyes on the ground, Inuko asked the blonde demon, could we do this again when we're free? He told the girl with brown hair, sure. But I have a date with Ino-chan next week, so I can't do it then. She stood up and said, no problem. She told the blonde, I'm sorry, but I have to go now. Naruto gave the girl a smile and said, well, see you later. The girl turned to leave, but then ran back and kissed Naruto on the cheek before leaving. He felt Inuko's kiss on his cheek and touched it. The next week's date with Ino was just as good as the first one with Inuko. The only difference was that Ino was more daring and didn't mind cuddling. After both dates, he only had one thing left to do, talk to the old man about the CRA. He walked into the big office and said to the old man, Sandame. Dono. I have something I'd like you to do for me. And what would that be, Rokudame? Dono? Naruto told the old Kage, I want to put the CRA on myself. The old Kage let out a happy sigh. Yes, Kami, I see what you did, what do you mean? Naruto asked the Hokage how happy he was. The council tried to force you to join the program, but you agreed, so there's no problem. That is, having an S. Rank Hokage. Level shinobi attack the village would be terrible for us, Rokudame. Dono. Hiruzen told the blonde with a small laugh, but he knew that Naruto could wipe out the village if he wanted to, so he had to be nice to him. Stupid council could have killed us. When the council was brought up, Naruto narrowed his eyes. They made his childhood so bad because they told the village about the Kyuubi and used the village against him. Why do you allow them to boss you around, Sandame? Dono? Naruto was about to growl at the man. Explain yourself. I am the leader of this village, the Sandame said with pride as he focused on the blonde former Hokage. He asked with a smirk, are you sure about that? Who makes the academy's lessons? Naruto asked the old man, but he already knew the answer. The council, but Naruto cut him off to ask another question. Who runs the trade in the village in the currently as well as homing system? Naruto asked the man, who was looking at him with wide eyes as he took it all in. He smiled at this because he had woken up the real Sandaime Hokage. Hiruzen's eyes went from wide to narrow. It looked like they had a fire behind them now that they didn't have before. He stared straight ahead as he stood up and slammed his palms down on the desk. He yelled in anger, "The council!" He finally got it. He used to be soft, weak, and easy to push, but not anymore. Since the Kyuubi attack, the village has needed money but never seemed to have it. He could see it now. The damn civilian basters were getting rich while everyone else was hurt. Anbu. It's time to get in here right now, he told them. Two shinobi dressed in black walked into the room with their backs to the door. This is what they said, "Hi Hokage. Sama." He spoke with a strong voice that was very different from the grandfatherly tone he had been using since he was reinstated. "Call the bloody council to the meeting room now, and if they aren't there in 30 minutes, they are fucked," he said. They said, "Hi Hokage. Sama," and then turned away to go do their job. How does it feel to be back, Sandaime? Dono? Naruto asked the cage, who was now awake again. It's good to be back, Rokudame. Dono. Would you like to join me at the council meeting? The Sandaime asked the blonde, who now had a shit-eating grin on her face. Oh, you bet that I'm ready to. Naruto told the Sarutobi, who got up from his desk and followed Naruto out of the room. When Naruto and the Hokage walked into the big meeting room, he thought, this is going to be fun. The room was full of clan heads from the Hyuga, Inuzuka, Aburame, Akamichi, Yamanaka, and Nara families. On the right side, Asuma was representing the Sarutobi because his father was Hokage, and on the left, the 11 richest people in the village were sitting. 3 old people from the village, Danzo, Homura Mitokado, and Kaharu Udatane, stood between the two groups. For the Uchiha, Uzumaki, Senju, and Namikaze, who weren't there, the shinobi side had 4 open spots. They were all sitting in a big U-shaped desk. There was a chair with a big desk in the middle of the U. Naruto followed the Hokage in as he opened the door. Naruto sat in the Namikaze seat, and the Hokage sat in the middle seat. Someone from the crowd spoke up. Hokage. Sama. Why were we called here on such short notice? The person asked the old cage. This is where we set something up. I just recently learned that some council members have been doing bad things for the village. Naruto Namikaze and I have decided to fix that. Naruto Namikaze will now be the Namikaze representative. The Sandaime said this while glaring at some council members. From now on, I'm in charge of the waters around the village and all trade. The civilian council will also not be able to change the academy's lessons for now. Our village is weaker now that greed has taken over. The civilian council won't be able to say anything about shinobi business either. People in the village were very angry about this, but the shinobi were happy that their leader was finally taking charge. There was some worry among Kaharu and Homura that the Hokage would take back power in the council. It looked like Danzo was smirking at this. It was dismissed. That the Hokage said as he and Naruto left the room. When they got there, Danzo was already there to greet them. Danzo. San, what do you want? Hiruzen asked the man with the bandage. I have come to congratulate you on coming back to your senses. The Hokage heard what Danzo said. Yes, it's good to be back. Hiruzen told the other old shinobi. Also, I know that you still run root under my back. Danzo was shocked by what he said. How did you know? Danzo asked him, a little shocked that someone knew what he was up to. You just told me. The Sandaime said with a smirk of victory. He thought he should hit his head against a stone wall for giving in to that. But I'm not going to punish you. I know you want what's best for the village, so I fully understand why I want you to start root again. The village needs protection, and root can help. But only if you give me a list of all the current members and confirm them as Konoha shinobi. They must also only take missions from me. Do not kidnap people or try to change their minds. They have to be true to the village and the Hokage. That's all you have to agree to. He seemed to be thinking about what to do. He could better protect the village now that he wasn't hiding from everyone. He would lose his own army, which is not good. He chose, the village comes first. Alright, Sarutobi. I agree with your terms. Late this week, I'll send a member with the roster. What did Danzo say to his old enemy? He then left the room to get his reports ready. The Sandame looked at Naruto and asked the blonde, was he telling the truth? Hi, he told the truth. Now he's on our side. I would still keep an eye on him, though. He said this as he left the office himself. Oh, and don't think I'd ever betray the village. I love this place, even though it's not my own. I will always protect the will of fire as long as we work for peace in the world. As Naruto walked out the door, he said. After 2 months. Naruto, Narumi, Sayuri, and Kazumi were in front of the Hokage, Danzo, and Iruka. The Hokage, Danzo, and Iruka were going to give them their next mission. After getting Tora back for the 10th time that week, they watched with great joy as her owner suffocated her. Well, we could paint the fence, do some gardening, or... The Hokage was cut off by a yell of Tora no. Or catch the cat. No. She yelled at the old man. No way, Gigi. For 2 months now, we've only been up to D level missions. I want a mission with a rank of C. She pouted and said. Narumi, how could you disrespect the Hokage like that? The girl just stared at Iruka when he yelled at her. Missions are ranked from easiest to hardest, with D rank being the easiest and S rank being the hardest. I agree that your team is one of the strongest since the Sannin, but you guys are still fresh out of the academy. What Iruka said. I believe that they are ready. As Danzo sipped his tea, he said, out loud. I can see that Sayuri San is in the middle of Chunin without her Sharingan and Narumi. San is at high Chunin and low Jonin with the Kyuubi. I'm not even going to think about what level Naruto San is, but I have a guess. If it turns out to be correct, the team should have no trouble completing a C rank mission. Danzo told the Hokage and Iruka what was going on. He looked at Danzo out of the corner of his eye and asked, are you sure, Danzo? San? The root leader answered with a quiet nod when the Hokage asked. Alright. Bring him in. As another old man walked through the door, the Hokage called out. The old man had dark eyes, a big beard, and gray hair. He wore glasses. The shirt he wore had no sleeves and was worn with an obi, pants, and sandals. He also had a towel around his neck and a hat with a point on there. 2 little girls, a masked bad guy, and the 4th Hokage. The man screamed as he passed out. The old man thought Naruto was Minato, which made everyone in the room sweat. About half of the people in the village still called him Minato by accident, and another half thought that Naruto was really Minato but was hiding as Naruto to avoid all the paperwork that came with being Hokage. Hiruzen sighed at how the man was acting. Okay, while we wait for him to wake up, I'll tell you what your job is. Hey, this is Tizuna, the mastered bridge builder. You need to take him back to his house in the waves so he can finish building a bridge there. This is a C level mission that will take place outside of village. Also, there is a small chance that you will run into thieves along the way, so be careful. As soon as the Hokage was done talking, Tizuna finally woke up. Man, for a second I thought I had the 4th Hokage protecting me, what a dream. The old man said this as he rubbed his hurt head from passing out on an oak floor. When he turned around to face the team again, he saw Naruto there. He was so happy that he cried out, holy shit, it wasn't a dream. Actually, I'm not Minato Namikaze, Naruto said with a nervous laugh. His family name is Naruto Namikaze. I'm sorry for the trouble. Naruto said as he felt bad about it and scratched the back of his head. Okay, Naruto, I'm sorry, I thought you were Minato, Naruto. Tizuna stared at Naruto. He said them with extra emphasis on the name Naruto as if he were making fun of them. Naruto broke out in a sweat and said, great, now someone outside the village thinks I'm the real Minato. Could I try a different hairstyle? The blonde thought to himself. Kazumi told her team and Tizuna, well, we'll meet at the gates tomorrow morning at exactly 6 o'clock. Old bridge builder just gave a nod. He was able to get more alcohol to drink on the way home. Narumi grabbed Naruto and Sayuri by the arm as they were about to leave and sped them to her room. Naruto was shocked when she and Sayuri began to undress their clothes, leaving them in underwear and bras. Sayuri wore a black set and Narumi wore a burnt set. The next day, Kazumi and Tazuna were still not there when the three genin showed up, so they had to wait. When Kazumi and Tazuna showed up, the kunoichi with silver hair noticed that all three of them seemed to have a glow about them. She thought, I don't want to know. She had no idea that she would soon have that glow too. Tazuna and Team 7 had already left Konoha and were on their way to Nami no Kuni. A group of 5 people walked down a dirt path lined on both sides by trees. Along the way, they came across a single puddle. What the heck were they thinking when they made this plan? As Naruto looked at the puddle, he thought, those 2 demon brothers are really stupid, which is why they were only C. Rank missing nin. Hey guys. I need to go to the bathroom. Naruto yelled as he walked over to where the 2 ninja were standing. They decided to leave before Naruto got there because a kid was going to pee on them. You jerk, I should kill you for what you plan to do. Give us the old man, the one. Horned one growled. Naruto knew it was Gozu's. They nuked Nin as he got his claw ready, but Naruto knocked him out with a chop to the neck, and the other Naruto vanished in a cloud of smoke. The other person said, Gozu. Naruto recognized the voice as Mizu's and saw 2 horns on his forehead guard. While the nuked Nin was attacking Naruto, Naruto blocked the attack with a piece of armor that was on his forearm. Before Kazumi knocked him out, all he could say was, what the? The people Sayuri was with looked at each other and asked, what should we do with them? The kunoichi with silver hair said, we should tie them up and leave them for a group of Anbu to pick up during their patrol. She then turned to Tazuna, who was already sweating bullets. Kazumi asked the bridge builder, Tazuna. San, could you please tell me why there were missing nin from Kiri trying to kill you? It would be best for him to tell them the truth, Tazuna thought with a sigh. You see, the wave used to be a prosperous nation year back. We had trade and everyone was happy, but then Gado came to the wave and bought all ports. In an island nation like Nami no Kuni, if you control the ports you control everything else. He acts as if he was our king. He sends his thugs and bandits out to rob us and even takes some of the girls in the village to become slaves for him. Sex slaves. Tazuna said as he threw his fist ran down his cheeks. Gado had made several girls his sex slaves and then raped them. The 3 kunoichi on the team looked very angry about this. Even though it's clear that this is at least a B. Rank mission, Kazumi growled, there is no way in hell I will let this stand. Sayuri and Narumi agreed with her. Naruto gave a smile to this. He knew that he could make sure Haku and Zabuza lived this time. Naruto walked past everyone and said, good, then we know our true mission. Our mission is to free the wave, he said, giving the other 4 a confident smile. He smiled as tears of happiness fell from his eyes. Tazana cried out, thank you so much. They walked until they reached a river. The mist in the air made it impossible for them to see the other side. They were able to ride on the ferryman's small boat to the other side. The team saw the big bridge through the fog on this trip. As Narumi looked at the bridge, she said, impressive. Tazuna smiled and said, yes, that is my pride and joy. The hope of Nami no Kuni. Naruto was thinking about something else while everyone else looked at the amazing bridge. We're almost at the place where Zabuza, San and Haku. San were. When I think about Haku. San, I wonder if he is really a girl this time. First time I saw him during the wave, I thought he was a girl. I mean, what man would wear a pink kimono? This is what Naruto thought to himself. Sayuri shook Naru-kun's shoulder and said, hey Naru-kun. What do you think will happen? This is now a B. Rank mission and it's our first one out of the village. She wanted to know. She was both excited and scared at the same time. She still thinks Itachi is a guy, so this was a chance to see how far she had come in her training to beat her brother, Itachi. But it was possible for her to die too. As Naruto leaned back and closed his eyes, he said, don't worry Sa-chan, if we run into anything, I'll take care of it. Despite how calm he seemed, he was still scared about how to save Haku and Zabuza without looking like a traitor. He had been training his shadow clones for 2 months to improve his powers. He had better control over his Sharingan and could now make most of Susanoo's skeleton but not its muscles or skin. He could also do Shinra Tensai every 10 seconds. He was able to remember 2 techniques from before, but he wasn't telling anyone about them unless he had to use them to protect his friends. He also had a feeling that the wave mission would be much harder this time than the last time. The group finally got to the shore of Nami no Kuni and kept walking. In the end, Narumi got scared of the same white rabbit that Naruto did in his own time. Fur white? But it's already summer. That was what Kazumi was thinking before she heard the sound of metal cutting air. She yelled at everyone, "Get down!" as she dragged Tazuna to the ground in the forest. Naruto did the same for Narumi and Sayuri. 2. Pronged butcher knife that was very big flew over them and hit a nearby tree. Naruto knew right away that the blade was the Kabikirabocho. Zabuza Momochi was on the handle of the blade. The man Zabuza was tall and very muscular. He had pale skin, short, spiky black hair, brown eyes and small eyebrows. Over the bottom half of his face, he had bandages that looked like a mask. He wore his forehead protector on the side of his head and didn't have a shirt on. The only thing that covered his chest was a belt that held his Kabikirabocho. He wore baggy pants with the stripe pattern that is typical of Kirigakure and mimetic wrist. Warmers that went up to his elbows, as well as leg. Warmers that matched. Zabuza told the kunoichi with silver hair, "Well, if it isn't Kazumi of the Sharingan." The air was heavy with Zabuza's desire to kill. Narumi and Sayuri were both gasping for air and out of breath. What Zabuza noticed was that Kazumi was sweating a little from the stress, but Naruto wasn't at all affected. And his little team of pretend ninja. The former swordsman of the mist looked at Naruto like he was crazy when he told him, "You should learn not to underestimate your opponents, Zabuza-san. Or else you might just end up dead." He said that. As soon as Naruto said, "dead," Zabuza felt steel against his throat. When he turned around, Naruto was standing next to him with a kunai. Zabuza was shocked when he saw Naruto standing next to his team and asked, "How the?" It then changed into a group of crows that flew away. "Dude, I love doing that. That's why Itachi always started his fights that way," Naruto thought to himself. He was happy that he had surprised the strong Zabuza Momochi. Naruto then jumped away from the Kiri Nuke Nin and went back to standing with his team. The Demon of the Mist praised the kid as he took his sword off the tree he was standing on. "Well kid, I'll give you that one. Maybe you aren't just a wannabe shinobi. The real battle has begun. Haku, please come out. I might need your help in this fight." Another shinobi wearing a Kiri Hunter Nin mask jumped out of the trees and landed next to Haku. Haku was dressed as a hunter. Nin, and his outfit was the standard Kirigakure pinstriped outfit that stopped at his knees. He wore a green haori with white trimmings over it, and around his waist was a brown sash with a fringed trail that went around his waist twice. Haku also wore light brown platoon sandals with straps that were the same color as his kimono, and the ninja had nail polish on his fing. Naruto told his sensei, Kazumi. "Sensei, you take Zabuza, and I'll take this Haku." He then broke away from Kazumi and ran at Haku at an unbelievable speed. The masked ninja quickly dodged and jumped back. Naruto chased after her before disappearing and reappearing in front of Haku, punching her in the face. Haku skipped along the forest floor a few times before taking a step back. Naruto could see the two small bulges through her haori and thought she was binding them. Naruto said with a small smirk, "So you're a girl." He made a few hand signs and then yelled, "Jinten." Sonic kick. As he kicked the air at supersonic speeds, sending a sonic boom that pushed Haku back. "I'm not going to lose." The now identified kunoichi said, "I am Zabuza." Sama's ultimate weapon, and then she charged at Naruto with the senbon in her hand. Sweden. Gunshot jutsu, Haku said as she made a few one-handed signs and shot a ball of condensed water at Naruto. He blocked it with a shield he made with Asura Path. Gave up. Jinten. Light. Speed shuriken, Naruto said as he threw 5 shuriken at impossible speeds. Haku, who was already moving very quickly, was able to avoid 3 of them, but she was hit in the left thigh and right arm by 1. Luckily, Naruto wasn't trying to kill her, so she wasn't seriously hurt. No way. Sweden. Water exploding and wave colliding. Haku yelled as huge amounts of water poured out of her mouth and flooded the area. Naruto jumped onto a tall tree to get away from this nut, but he knew she had the upper hand since he still couldn't absorb normal chakra. Naruto thought to himself, "She's stronger than Haku. San in my world," and he jumped out of the way to avoid a few senbon thrown by the ice user. Naruto made a clone, and Fujin and Raijin called out, "Take this." as Naruto made a big tornado and the clone fired an electric current into it. Haku dodged the blunt of the attack, but the strong winds blew him back. "This is it, the 1,000 flying water needles of death," Haku said as she sent out a bunch of water needles that surrounded Naruto. "I'm sorry, but this is your end," she told him as the needles shot forward. He said, "Shinra Tensei," as he blasted everything in his path away. He now understood why Nagato loved that move so much, it was way too powerful. The Rinnegan was a true gift from God, but Madara also had it, so it was also a curse. Behind her mask, Haku's eyes grew bigger as she saw one of her best attacks get pushed away too easily. "No way!" she yelled. "Even Zabuza Sama can't get away from that jutsu without getting hurt," Haku said as several ice mirrors rose from the water. There were 12 at ground level, 8 above them, and 1 in the middle on top, making a dome. She yelled in shock and a little fear. She knew she had to go all out on this man to even have a chance to win. Naruto thought to himself, well, this brings back memories, as he saw Haku enter one of the mirrors. Her image appeared in all of the ice mirrors, making it seem like she was everywhere at once. "Well, this is a neat jutsu you have here, Haku-chan," Naruto told her. "This is the end of it. I wanted to avoid killing you because I can see that you have a bloodline like mine, but it looks like I have to now," Haku said as she got ready to attack by holding a senbon in each hand. "Farewell," she said as she moved quickly and threw a senbon at Naruto. Within seconds, Naruto looked like a pincushion and fell to the ground. "It's over," she sighed. Naruto said as he rose up like a zombie as all the needles fell off. Naruto's cloak was now ruined with hundreds of holes, but his skin looked fine. "You are going to need more than that to pierce my skin," he said as he knocked on his arm, revealing that he was once again wearing the Asura Path armor. "Gotta love the Asura Path," he thought to himself. "Actually, maybe I'm over it. It's crazy how fast this man can move, how he can control gravity, and how he can make armor out of his skin." Haku thought to herself as she tried to think of a way to attack him. "Hi Haku-chan," Naruto said, "I'm done using my armor for now. This is getting boring." Thought Haku, boring. He thinks this is boring. She said, "Well, if you're giving me this chance, then I will use this to my advantage." She then attacked the blonde again, but this time he dodged everything or blocked it with his sword. "Hold still," she gritted her teeth as she tried to hit him but failed. Naruto pointed his hand right at her and said, "Well, I think it's time to end this." Haku would have been shocked, but she already knew that this man was much stronger than her. "Bansho Tenin," he said as he grabbed her by the neck and pulled her toward him. "Goodbye, Zabuza Sama," she thought as she passed out. When Haku left the fight, the mirrors fell, letting Naruto out. Instead of killing her, Naruto put her over his shoulder and walked back to his team, who had Zabuza tied up and Kazumi knocked out. "Hey guys, how was your fight?" "Well, anyways, we should get to your house, Tazuna-san," Naruto asked them. His 2 teammates and Tazuna gave him a look that said, "See for yourself," since Kazumi was out of chakra and Narumi and Sayuri had some cuts. The drunk man nodded and showed them how to get home. Naruto made clones of the 3 unconscious ninjas to carry them while he talked to his teammates. She told her 2 friends and lovers, "This place looks awful." Sayuro gave her a mean look and said, "Yeah, how could anyone do this to someone?" She had a brief memory of the day her brother killed everyone in the Uchiha clan. "This is what happens when the greedy get too much power." Naruto said that. His face couldn't be red right now. In his mind, he remembered that Danzo should send his route to kill any other high-level officials in Gado's company. This way, no one else would ever take over as tyrant like Gado in Nami no Kuni. The group got to a house with 2 stories that was close to water. It was actually on a platform over the water, held up by several wooden posts. He yelled, "Hey Tsunami, I'm home," as he knocked on the door. When the door opened, a pretty woman with dark blue hair and black eyes walked in. She wore a pink shirt with red on the sleeves and collar. "San, you're home," she yelled, glad that her dad was back safe. "Gigi," yelled a little boy with dark eyes and spiked black hair. He was dressed in green overalls, a yellow shirt, and a hat with blue and white stripes. Speaking with a deep laugh, Tazuna said, "Yeah, thanks to these ninja. I would be dead if they weren't here." When Tsunami saw the 3 people who were unconscious, he had to ask, are those 3 okay? Naruto had to answer since he was now in charge. The silver-haired kunoichi is our sensei Kazumi Hitaki. The other 2 are attackers who we will interrogate once they awaken. Naruto said to the wave local. She seemed a little scared about letting the enemy into their house, but she did it because her father had done it. Alright, I'll prepare some rooms for you guys upstairs. I'll have one of the women and you can stay with Inari, my son. I'll give a separate room for your prisoners, she told Naruto. The other characters were shocked when Naruto said, actually I'll stay with the prisoners. The lover asked, Naru-kun, why would you stay with them? They might try to kill you. Naruto smiled back at her, but it was a little too sweet. He said, just trust me, Naru-chan, which made everyone cold. Narumi gave a quick nod and walked away. In the late evening, when Zabuza finally woke up from their sleep, he stirred. He asked himself, where am I? Before he realized he was still tied up. He looked and saw Haku still not awake. Zabuza thought to himself, it looks like you lost Haku-chan. He heard, yes she did, coming from behind a wall of shadows as 2 eyes with red rings looked at him. The man said, I have an offer to make to Zabuza-san. Zabuza thought to himself, well shit.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.